There we go. We are spelunking. Trying to find some cinnabar. That is this kind of it. Found an underground tunnel. I know. And then I'm like, need some coal though. I know nothing about this game. Well, I used to play it, but all I know is like how to make the basic stuff. And this server that I'm on is super extensive. And it's been a while, but I do seem to be finding quite a bit of coal here. He's just fatter. Alex took over for Alex Van Halen. I don't know why he had to get the server, man. Watch for Fight Club. Just gonna play Minecraft for the rest of my life, I guess. Is this iron? Dense iron ore. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. Ooh, water. It's too bad you don't actually need water for anything in Minecraft, though. That's always been kind of a bummer. Most of these survival games, it's a huge factor in like where you set up, but from what I gather about Minecraft, it's not really that. It's not really that necessary. Look at all this. Oh yeah, give me that coal. I don't remember what else you use coal for. Silver ore. I'm gonna make some silver weapons. Hopefully they'll be pretty good. Harvest level redstone. I don't know what that means. If I'm being honest. Don't know what that means. Don't know what that means. Look at all this ore. It's gonna take forever though. Waiting for our web designer, our new web designer to come online. Ooh, iron. And if I do? Just 2? Okay. I can get behind that. Now the real question is, how do I get out of here? If I can remember the way back. Tomorrow I should stay early. It's all the same. Oh yeah, what are we gonna build? I don't even know. What should I build? Something awesome. What is this? Tin ore berry bush. Tinker's construct. Oh. That does. Iron? And if I do? I'm gonna need a lot of this shit. That's why I'm down here. I need to make my tools. Lead? No thanks. What's that? Oh, the bush. The bush hurts. More silver. Alright. We're gonna have to build some more furnaces too. Which reminds me I need wood. Oh. Thermal foundation. I don't know what any of these mod packs do, but they're supremely intriguing. Alright, so that's pretty good. What is this, lead? Okay, so I'm gonna go And craft down what I have. I don't know what yellow red is. I don't really want lead. Lead does not seem like something that I'm very interested in. Now there's tin, but I don't remember how to get out of here. I'm just gonna follow the torches and hope that I'm going the right way. Nope. What's next? Definitely not this way. Oh, it is this way. Okay. What's that? Come at me, bro. I'm so ready. I don't have any armor yet, but I don't really need it for the zombies. Let's continue spelunking. More iron. Basically, you just dig a big huge hole and you go until you run out of torches. Or, in this case, digging utensils. How much iron am I sitting on? 25. Enough to do anything good? Let's go find some more. Okay, so this mine has been more or less depleted. Gold ore. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with gold though. I heard it was kind of shitty. Aluminum bush. An aluminum bush. Did I go the wrong way again? Ah, here we go. It's a silver? There is. How much silver do I have? Oh, that's weird. Aluminum ore buried. So you can't actually harvest silver. Miner's Delight. That is. Is this something I can eat? Why would it be my delight? I don't feel very delightful about it. Alright, let's go this way. We're going for the iron. Everything else is basically useless. Ooh. Never say no to more fuel, especially when I don't have any wood at the moment. I'd say this is pretty much depleted. Back to the grind. Now, how do I get out of here? Thought I came in this way. Ah, here we go. So that's pretty much it for that place. Down the hole.
And there's a guy above me, and he's washing windows, making $10.
Oh, interesting.
And he says to me, "Hey, you're part of it. Yeah,
See what we have here.
you're part of it. Hey,
We got some iron.
you're part of it.
Lots of iron. Some dense iron would be nice, but
You're part of
good
it.
enough. So I would like to find some diamond, because a diamond pickaxe would be
Well, how
super
do
sweet.
I that this country is unequal still? History continues itself. Continues itself. History
The things we do in the off season.
continues itself. And I did not create the rules. From all I've heard and all I've seen, this place has broken
Oh, the mini map, right?
my American
Here.
heart. From all I've
I'm
heard
out of picks. one more. Just enough to get this guy.
Place has broken
Maybe this guy.
my American heart.
Of course, all the iron shows up when your axe is busted. Ain't that the way? Oh, it's fun. So I'll have to come check this place back out momentarily. But for now, gonna go back up. Oh, where'd this come from?
Hey, you're part of it.
I'll have to remember to come get that.
Yeah, you're part of it.
Wish you could speed up ladders, super speedy.
Hey, you're part of it. Yeah, you're part of it.
Cool.
Nights, hard times, everything that makes you feel tired. I think I gotta get away from you. Long nights, hard times.
Ooh, 45. Holy moly. Got a lot of that stuff. I gotta go get some wood though. I got none. So let's start with some.
Got something to say. You might not like how it sounds, I don't care. I've gotta get out of here. You look like your disguise. You're just a monkey in a monkey suit. Oh yeah. Now you know how I feel. It's just time, or it's the wrong time. You can't deal with me, I can't deal with you, and now it's just a fight for both of us. Oh yeah.
That'll work.
Long nights, hard times, everything that makes you feel tired. That's why I gotta get away from you. Just one more thing. Can you tell me something that I haven't heard? I wanna hear how it sounds. What was that you said? You can't think of anything. Well, think harder. Oh yeah. Tell me a secret or two. Speak up, dear. My hearing's not so good. Shouldn't call you dear. That's a good one. The best and worst secret you've ever yelled at me. Oh yeah.
Now we need to get some wood. Would you do that now? Eat first.
Long nights, hard times, everything that makes you feel tired. That's why I gotta
Hey, dude.
get away from
Hey, what's going on? Let's see. What's happening?
What? You?
Not too much. Hanging out. Waiting for season 8 to start.
Oh, is that today?
I think it might be tomorrow.
This will
Everything
say,
is
like,
so
one
boring
day.
without Overwatch. I think it starts tomorrow morning, but it could be tonight. Either way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, websites, huh? You want to do a Node.js site, huh?
Well, it depends. If what you need doesn't require an actual, like, server side,
Yeah.
like a static site could be.
Well, yeah, I was kind of thinking because... So we don't need... Basically, it's just a glorified landing page. you know, with a couple extra like back pages. Like what I have is exactly what we need, so it doesn't. Something's making a lot of noise in my computer right now. I don't know what it is. Oh, okay, I'm good. So yeah, so I mean, there doesn't have to be any server-side functionality because we don't have any. Like, there's no database required yet or anything quite like that. We just need a place that can link the, basically like what Optic Gaming's website does. You know, like a storefront. But the storefront is just a link to our Dash Threads page anyway. We don't need to deal with any e-commerce or anything like that. You know, initially I had set it up like through WordPress and did a whole bunch of stuff in WordPress, but WordPress is the worst. And I'm like, I never really, like, I kind of know PHP, but I never really got into it. And it's like every time I go back to it, I have to like learn it all over again. And WordPress is so clunky. So I ended up using Adobe Muse for the first time. I don't know if you've ever used that or not, but it's like the best thing in the world until you've been working with it for like 5 hours and you realize how limited it is. And you're like, oh my God. Oh, so I got halfway through the website and I was like, wow, this is really amazing. And then at one point I was like, man, I gotta go take a look at the HTML real quick and see what this is. And then there's no way to actually access it. It's just the front end side of it. So what you see on the website is basically like, it's basically what we need. So if it doesn't require any sort of back end, like if you don't want to use Node or whatever, what do you usually design in if you're not like doing an interactive website, or not interactive, but like, what you'd call it.
I write it all from scratch, but I use like React to actually do all of my front-end logic. Like, I don't usually use anything other than just writing it, I guess.
React, you said it's called?
Yeah. But that's just a front-end framework. Like, I'm not sure if that actually answers your question. Yeah, no, I'm always looking for different, like, what people are using. I've been building websites for years and years and years, forever, but I'm getting to the point where, like, I'm an old man when it comes to WebLogic and what languages people use. Like, I always made fun of people that use JavaScript, and I never learned it like an idiot, so... Yeah.
Now I don't know any JavaScript, and I feel like a shithead because I can't make a website.
Now JavaScript is like...
I know, it's king shit. Oh, I see. Yeah, see, I don't know much of anything about this, but like if you wanted to take a stab at it and maybe snazz it up, and the problem is, I used Muse because it's supposed to be really good for responsive design, which it is. Like, it's really good for responsive, but it's not... The more, like I said, the more you do, the more it slows down. And I mean, not even the process. I mean, just the actual program itself is terribly slow when you start getting a little bit deeper into it. Like when your website starts to become a little bit more robust. But there's nothing really going on here. But yeah, I mean, if there's anything you think that the website could use, like, I just don't. I don't have a lot of content for it. I mean, I guess I do. I just don't have a good way to streamline putting content on the website.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, what you have is good. Like, it does have a little bit of a feel of being created by
an editor.
Something. Yeah. And I mean, if we did something from scratch, we could do really fun stuff, like kind of the parallax scrolling to get some really sweet, like, flashy type of effects.
Yeah, yeah, and I have. That's another thing too. Like, I have all the ability to do parallax backgrounds and all that fun stuff, but I'm not a designer, and I'm not an artist, so I don't know. I just don't have that, like, creative spark that it takes to make a website pop. Like, a graphic designer's. Like, they know. Are you a graphic designer too, by any chance?
Not really, but I work closely with them a lot.
I bet.
And I do kind of follow a lot of design people, like on Twitter, and I try to keep up with a lot of trends.
That's cool. But it's just the same thing. It's like, I just don't know what it should look like, or like what people are doing nowadays that make things pop, and how to make it, like, just not terrible looking.
Well, the cool thing is you have a lot of graphics already.
Yeah, we do.
Which is usually, if I'm building something, that's what I don't have.
Oh, really?
You've got a logo, you've got graphics, you've got a color scheme. Like,
yeah,
that's the shit that I get stuck on forever.
Really? Yeah, we've got a ton of that, and we also have a graphic designer that works pretty closely with us as well. It's the only person we have. The only person that we're paying right now is a graphic designer. So
yeah, we do good work. Honestly, like, it looks nice.
Well, unfortunately, that was our last graphic designer, and he worked for free, and he didn't work out, unfortunately. But the new girl, T-Max, she's amazing. She's also really, really good. So a lot of these graphics we've pulled from other websites, and a lot of these graphics we've, like for instance, the storefront page, like the Dash Threads guy, that's their template for selling stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you wanted to take a stab at it and see like what you could do, I'm happy with basically the way that it is right now. Like I shouldn't say I'm happy with the way that it looks basically right now. And I don't necessarily need it to be any better or more interactive than that. But at the same time, I would like to have a way that, like, I don't know, if just looking at that website, right? Like, would it be a big endeavor to redesign that with a more accessible language? Like, if you were to do it with just strict HTML and JavaScript, or like, okay, so I'm actually looking at React right now, and that's a front end.
So React is basically, so when I say I write everything from scratch, it's still true. It's just I write my HTML with JavaScript.
You write your HTML with JavaScript.
Right, so it's just a language that it kind of changes the way that you build the HTML, such that when you've got functions or things that call JavaScript, it's all sort of intertwined in the source code.
Right, okay. I see what you're, because I'm looking at some of the examples right now. So everything is a React component.
But still, all the HTML is handwritten.
That's pretty cool. Within the classes, though, is each page its own class, or
to explain? But
yeah, but is each? Well, my degree's in software engineering, so it's not.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, I'm not gonna not understand anything. But are the pages classes?
It's what Netflix builds their site with.
Really?
For example.
That's pretty cool. React render.
How they write their HTML, because they can.
Oh, I see. And how do you
just control everything a lot better?
That's pretty cool. Well, do you think it would be a big undertaking to redesign?
And everything.
Do you think it would be a big undertaking to redesign what we currently have, like with like React or JavaScript? Because we don't actually need. I'm getting my whole entire shit fucked here while I'm looking at this. That's okay.
Right, you don't have any very interactive needs. You have one form, but it's just a straightforward form. You don't.
It's just a contact form, yeah. So when you call a render, yeah, I mean, I don't want to start asking about specifics about how this language works, but if it's something that it looks to me like it's something that I could easily kind of get my head around, like if I saw it in action, like if I took a look at our website and I saw how it was.
Yeah, you could. If you know how to read HTML, you could. There's a lot of things in the actual framework that you might learn to get into the
right
nitty-gritty. But the thing is, if I were to work on this site, I would probably also, something I've been wanting to do that I would do, like, not as a, it would be something I would do additionally, like, regardless of what we agree on, would be to build like a CMS or something kind of like an admin panel. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah, so that you could change the text on the homepage or the picture or whatever.
Right. So you're saying that you would want to build your own CMS. Now, are there any that you prefer? Not that we're gonna do it. I'm just asking. Right? Like, are there any content management systems that you really like prefer to use, or one over the other?
Well, I've looked, and it's like everything is so goddamn expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's, I don't know if that fits for your needs right now.
Right, because it's just a simple page.
Yeah, and like I want to get more into freelance development. All of my work has all been totally private for corporation,
Right.
and that's great and it's nice, but you know, it's like I kind of want to branch out a little, and
Right.
in order to do that, I'm going to need to have something that I have control over and that I can provide to any client. So, like, if I were to build your site, we would just talk about what you need, and the admin thing would be totally not a worry of yours. Like, that would
Oh,
be something
cool.
I would build that, like,
Yeah, that makes
you
sense.
wouldn't have to consider at all for any kind of payment. Like, that would be totally an
Oh, that's great.
additional thing because it's something I want to build anyway.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So if you were to build this website, though,
I
what
wish
do
I
you?
had a nice example of something that I've built.
Yeah.
I have one, like, start of a proof of concept.
Oh, really? Yeah. Do you mind if I take a look?
So it's, the content is all placeholder.
Yeah.
It's not fully responsive.
Okay.
I mean, I know how to do that, though. It's just, this isn't something that I've continued on. It's been just sort of a experimental ground.
That's cool. What company do you work for, if you don't mind me asking?
But it's got the carousel, some fun little
Oh, that's cool.
pronouns.
And you did this with React?
Yeah, so essentially, this is all done by hand. CSS, HTML, JavaScript.
Cool. Oh, that's nice. So the animations on those panels down there, like the handcrafted, high-tech, and accurate bits, those are all hand done, like custom panels.
Yep.
Oh. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing we're looking for, you know, just something a little bit different, you know. This looks a little bit different than your normal website. But yeah, I mean, I'd be more than happy to. The problem is, though, I just don't have like, I need to basically get the website on a different platform that scales well with adding content, because it's even, and I don't
Like a
even mean
different
like,
host.
say what?
Or
Oh, a
actual
different host? Yeah,
technology
well,
it's
that's the
built
other thing. Yeah, we're moving over to DigitalOcean. Like, I should, if we go ahead and do this thing with the new website, you'll probably be developing like on like Vulkr, or not Vulkr. What do you call it? Like either through DigitalOcean, like a rented server. Because I'm using GoDaddy right now, just like for the staging, and it is the worst thing ever. Like when I was younger, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 32. Like, and I have been making webs since I was like 15, and GoDaddy used to be so good for hosting, and now all of the website hosts that I look at, they're all so slow and so terrible. So if you were to develop, like, have you ever developed off like a cloud server before? It's super easy. Hello?
Hello. Did you ask a question?
Yeah, sorry. Have you ever developed off of like a cloud server before? Like if I were to rent.
I've used Azure.
Oh, have you really?
Just as
Is that that any
host
good?
and all their other services.
Are you basically,
but that
is
would be
Azure
it.
just basically you renting a server?
But
like-
do you mean like a
Oh, like DigitalOcean, for instance.
code IDE?
No. I mean like so you know
Done
like
that too.
like GoDaddy is like they're like a web provider, like a web host, right? And they offer hosting and stuff. But if I was to when we launch the website for Reels, like the final version of the website, it's going to be hosted by probably DigitalOcean. So it's basically. Go ahead.
I don't know if you didn't reply to me.
What do you mean?
So I don't know if I'm missing what you're saying.
Oh, hello. Oh, can you not hear me?
Okay, no.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, I was wondering what was going on. Hang on. I've been talking the whole time. I was like, why isn't she responding?
I would answer a question and then I wouldn't hear anything.
Oh, that's so weird. I think I need to run. Hang on, let me run this as administrator. I'll be right back. Okay, hopefully that's better. You can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, if have you ever worked with like cloud hosting before, like DigitalOcean, or anything quite like that? Because I've been using GoDaddy. I started using GoDaddy like literally like 15 years ago, and they used to be a lot better.
Yeah.
We have like private server space at work that I use all the time, and I've been using that for a long time. Actually, I take it back. I've been using GoDaddy for like almost 20 years now, between them and Fat Cow for a long time. But I've been working at the same company for like 15 years. And we have our own private servers that we use, and they're so fast. And when I made this website, I just figured, oh, I'll go back to GoDaddy because, you know, I've used them before and I know they're pretty reliable. And it's so bad. It's so slow. I don't mind cPanel but I guess what I'm getting at is when we do deploy the final version of the website, it's going to be through. Have you ever been to DigitalOcean by any chance?
I'm familiar with DigitalOcean, yeah.
I'll probably going to wind up using like their servers because they're a lot faster and they scale really well. Like
This
if we
is,
ever Arvix, is this hosting?
That's what I've used in the past, but I haven't had to deal with like huge traffic. It's always just for little play around sites for myself.
Yep, that's cool. So this is server web hosting, and I'm more looking at. Oh, I see. Right on. Yeah. This is the same thing. It's all the same thing.
It doesn't have. I don't know if it has. I mean, I've just used its basic hosting.
Does it go through cPanel, or do they have their own kind of back end for that? Or are you actually renting? Are you actually renting a server that's empty?
No. I know it's like cPanel. I don't know if it is exactly cPanel. I would
They
have
got
to
their
like,
own
log back in
version of it, basically. That's cool. Yep, this is good. More basically, though, I guess that. Yeah, I think Azure is a little bit more in line with what I was talking about doing. But if I were to rent some server space, though, I'd configure it all for you and like just have it set up to be whatever environment that you prefer to work in. Like if you wanted to have it set up, if you wanted a cPanel, I would just install cPanel on it. You know what I mean?
So, out of curiosity, like, what is you're obviously in this area?
Yes. So I have a degree in software. I have a degree in computer science, but I've been working as a recording engineer at a recording studio for like 15 years. So I like still do a lot of computer science, but it's all for fun. And I haven't written, the last program I wrote was like probably 3 years ago. So okay. I know my way around like configuring servers and stuff. But like I said, I just don't have, I don't know if you heard it, but I just don't have that. I'm not a designer. I don't know how to make things look good. You know what I mean? But I'm really, really good at like assimilating. Like once you get the ball rolling and I see like what we're working towards, like it's really easy for me to just jump on board and start working on stuff. But yeah, I'm terrible at designing things. I don't know about which fonts to use and what looks good and what, I'm horrible like that. So, but like I was saying, basically, if you wanted to get involved with this and do it, I'll rent a server, like a testing server, and just configure it however you want, and then just let you go to town on it and see what you come up with.
Could. That might be overkill, but it would definitely give you the speed you want.
Well, it's the thing about renting a server is you say it's overkill, but it's so much cheaper than buying hosting these days. It's like it's like $5.99 for like it's $5.99 a month.
You probably get like a VM, right?
Yeah, for your own VM, and it's these hosting companies. It's so competitive these days. It's just cheap,
It's fantastic. I haven't looked into it in probably 2 years.
Yeah, well, like I said, if there's another, it's not called Vulcan. It's Valkyr or something. I can't remember. There's another hosting website out there that's just phenomenal. It's like $2.99 for like 500 gigs of bandwidth and 2 gigahertz processor, 2 gigs of RAM, $299 a month. You know, I've never used them. That's what they're advertising, you know. So, but anyways, that's kind of beside the point because we can configure that and get it set up however you like. If you decide that this is something that you want to get involved in. But basically, like I said, what I'm looking for is exactly what we have on the website. Not exactly. I mean, you can do it however the hell you want. But like you said, the color scheme is already sort of defined. The fonts that we use for everything is basically Big Noodle 2 Oblique, like the Overwatch font. I use that for basically everything. I mean, obviously, we wouldn't use it for the, you know, we could use it for the headers and everything, but you wouldn't want to use it for, you know, any of the regular content. But yeah, if it's something you'd be interested in, I'd love to have take a crack at it. The only thing is, like, what you'd want to get paid, because we have money like to spend on that kind of thing, but it's not. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what web developers cost, to be completely honest.
They're so ridiculously expensive. But,
oh, really?
I mean, to be honest, like, I don't have a portfolio. I do have a, I have set up a thing on a freelancing site that I'm thinking about getting going on, but, like, I would be willing to work with you on this, and, you know, I'm not too worried about that. I know
well,
that's like
I'll throw you a couple bucks here or there for sure. Like, absolutely. Like I said, I pay our graphic designers, and, you know, we have events, and I, like, last night I just threw $100 at just prizes for everybody that did the event and stuff like that. So, like, once a month I could throw you like $50 or something if that was something that worked.
Yeah.
Depending on what the other guys think.
And yeah, and I think probably in order to go for it, because the thing is, you have something that you're pretty okay with. I mean, it sounds like editing it is a pain.
That's a perfect way to describe it. I'm pretty okay with our website.
So I can, I'll play with some ideas.
Sure.
I'll throw something up that you can look at. Throw something up. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And then
23 hours
you
later.
can decide, like, I like the direction of this, or we can talk about tweaking it. But if it's something that you like, then we can work on, like, I can give you all of the stuff that you need.
Cool.
To put it up yourself. Like I said, I'm thinking it'll just be static. You don't need.
Nope, nothing crazy going on. Don't
like
need
the
any
server-side
forums.
stuff, as far as I can tell.
Not really.
Although I was having fun thinking about, like, what you could do with like Overwatch stats, or if you tracked stats during your streams or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what.
That's definitely not
a
present scope requirement.
Yeah, you say that, but, like, that's kind of the thing. Like, I know that they have an API out there, because if not, I mean, obviously Overbuff is a thing, right? So there must be a public API for the stats, right? That you can get somehow.
Do you have a list of the colors that you use? Like,
No, it's like
X
kind
values
of
or
orange
whatever?
to orange. No, but you know what?
I could eyedropper this, but
I do. I
I'd rather
literally
get, like,
everything I do, every last thing I do on the website.
You have already.
Oh shit! You can't hear me, can you? I all tabbed out again. Sorry. Yeah, literally everything I've done on the website so far is, we had one graphic designer who put the gradient across the Forbid logo, and everything I've done has been an eyedropper at the very beginning and an eyedropper at the very end. So it's those two colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So yeah, from there, that's about where I'm at. So yeah, if you wanted to put something together with like a platform that you thought was good, you know, like React, I would jump right on board and start playing around with it as well. Like, once I see an example that has to do with what we're doing, like, it would make a lot more sense. And then, you know, like, if you just got us started with it, like, and just handle the design portion of it, like how it looks and how it feels and what it should look like. I mean, even if you didn't necessarily design it, or I don't know how to say it, even if you weren't actively working on it, you were just telling me, like, this is, like, here's the basic framework, this is where the direction it should go in. Like, I can do a lot of the work myself, and because I really enjoy doing it. I just don't know where the hell I'm headed in the web.
Yeah, React is honestly amazing for web development. It's so fantastic. I mean, I do this full time,
Right.
writing enterprise apps for healthcare. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
like
Healthcare is like
this is
crazy
really
with the
good.
tech industry, huh? Every time I look at every time I look at job postings on the internet, like 80% of them are healthcare professionals looking for people to do like design either machinery or websites or it's all
it's
healthcare.
so much money, which is really unfortunate, to be
Really?
honest. Like, that's part of the problem. My company's always like, yeah, we want to reduce the costs of, administrative fees and healthcare, but we're going to charge hospitals millions for our software. It's like,
Yeah.
isn't this counterproductive?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of wonky. Kind of wonky. I kind of like this though. I mean, I like what I'm looking at here. I've been meaning to get into to kind of look at how JavaScript works a little bit more. I mean, it's pretty easy. It looks like, I don't know. The thing that has always kind of rubbed me the wrong way about JavaScript though is that if I'm not mistaken, it's the entire thing is run client side. But I don't think the website's going to be, I don't know. Like,
That
for
is
instance, I'll show you an example. This is our old graphic designer's website. I don't even know if it's still up. Okay, I probably shouldn't post that in the new members chat.
Free advertisement.
How's your team doing, by the way?
Good. We had a scrim last night.
Oh, yeah?
But I just talked to Deleted yesterday, and I don't know if it's the right fit for me. Like,
What, his team? Yeah.
I think they're a little bit above my skill range.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think I'm a solid McCree. I think I can keep up with McCree, but if I have to switch to Soldier or Tracer, I'm not there. And I'm not, I think they'd be better off finding another sub, and there's other teams that are more at my level, which I could at least.
Right. Yeah, Soldier's kind of gimpy nowadays anyways. Yeah, he's super annoying. So, yeah, but here's the deal. It's pretty. This was done also in Muse, I believe. And it's cool, right? It's an okay looking website, but like that dots that move around, if you click on that like a million times, it slows your computer down to like a grinding halt, right? Yes. So if you just keep clicking, eventually it'll just make your computer act like shit. That's the only concern I have with JavaScript is stuff. And I mean, that's an extreme example because nobody would ever do that. But I mean, if that's something that I shouldn't be concerned about, then I'm not going to worry about it. But that's always been my only concern with JavaScript is like weird stuff like that could happen. Okay.
Writing apps with JavaScript nowadays performance is a big important factor, and React helps a lot with performance. I think maybe what the issue with this effect is actually how the animations are done.
Yeah. Yeah, there's I can think of 100 ways to do that. That would be pretty. Well, there should be a limit to how many things you should click, anyways. But that was just my
like
example.
Asking for trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
But React is super. Its claim to fame was originally performance, because when you write the code with JavaScript, what it does is it diffs that between what's actually on the DOM.
Okay.
And then it'll find the changes, and it'll do a batch change, so it'll change the DOM once. And changing the DOM is what makes it slow. Like, the DOM is the slow part of the web. JavaScript is fast.
DOM?
The document object model, so the actual
okay.
like HTML.
Interesting.
So with most browsers nowadays, JavaScript is blazing fast.
Oh, okay.
And it's working around DOM changes that slows it down. So if you've got a site built with like all jQuery and you're like, jQuery append, jQuery blah 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 blah, like you're gonna start to slow down because you're like, hey DOM, change this, hey DOM, change this.
Oh, I
But
gotcha.
with React, you'll say, here's the change in logic. It'll say, okay, I need to make these 3 changes. Boom, 1 in and out, and it'll do it as efficiently as possible.
A comparative thing? Is it like almost like Git or?
It has a tree. It has its own version of the HTML in JavaScript, like a object form. And it can traverse that really quickly, so it can compare what you've done, what changes you've done. So, like, let's say you've changed the class name on a div.
Yeah.
It can say, oh, okay, I see that the class name here changed from what I have in memory to this. So I know that I need to prepare a change for the real DOM to change this class name. And if you've changed like 4 class names, you say, okay, I need to change 4 class names. So it doesn't need to actually like traverse through the DOM to try and like do all that diffing.
Right.
And then it'll say, okay, I need these 4 changes. And it'll do them all with one operation, one batch change. And you gain, like, obviously raw JavaScript and like raw stuff is always the fastest.
Yeah.
Anything you add on top of it is going to slow it down, but when it comes to managing like what you're doing, you're going to gain performance by using React or similar frameworks.
Gotcha.
Because they're going to make you do a better job when you actually do more than super basic stuff.
Okay, I understand. So this is like actually it's completely different. So React DOM .render. This is pretty interesting stuff going on here.
Yeah, JavaScript is really, like, in the last 5 years or so, it has really changed. Its job, its purpose is really evolving.
That's pretty cool. So when you're creating a class in JavaScript, in React, how does the class actually integrate to the website? Like, I'm looking at this. I see. So, like, basically, I guess I'm seeing. I see a class here, right, called To-Do App Extends React Component, right? Mm-hmm. And you literally type in constructor for the constructor?
So JavaScript classes are a sort of new feature that's not really supported by all browsers, and they're not classes like exactly the way classes are in other languages, but they try to be.
Okay.
Sorry,
go ahead.
A class is really just a way to wrap up the logic of your component. And a component renders something onto the page. And then
can you call the component many times?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it is acting like a class. I see what you're saying. Like it tries to act like one.
So now when you build a page, you're not really building, like before React, it was always like, okay, you've got this one big HTML page, and you've got all the HTML there, and then you might have one file that's all the JavaScript that like hooks into those things. Now it's more like building with little blocks, like little Legos, building each component, each little piece of the page.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And then you put them all together.
Yes, it's so much more maintainable. The source code is so much cleaner.
Okay, so what are props? Is that a keyword or?
Props are a specific React idea, which is basically like parameters that you pass to a component. Essentially,
so does it stand for properties?
Yeah, that's
or is it like props on a set?
No, like properties.
Okay, I gotcha.
Hello.
Okay, so when you call constructor and you're passing the props up, so you say are you looking at this, the To-Do App Extends React component, like the to-do list on the React page by any chance?
No, but I can, just so I can see
if you could just walk me through that class real quick, I feel like I would completely understand how this whole entire framework works, because it looks like it's got everything that it needs.
Where is that?
It's on that link that you sent me to the React front page, and it's the third example down. It's just called an application.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
So the constructor, you're creating a class here. So I get the constructor, and then the props though, that's what I don't really understand, like what that object represents.
All right. So if I almost need a way to type to you better.
Oh yeah,
okay, so props, when you write a component, You write it like HTML when you're putting it somewhere. Like not when you're writing its source, but if you're referencing it somewhere else.
Gotcha.
Like if you look at in that render function, it has that to-do list. Do you see that?
Yes.
Under the H3? Okay,
Yeah.
that's a component. To-do list is a component. Now you see that thing that says items equals the state items?
Yeah.
Items is a prop. So it's like an HTML attribute when you write it on a
Gotcha.
component. But it's basically like a parameter that you're giving to that component. So if you were to look at the source of to-do list, it would say this.props.items, and it would have that thing which you pass to it.
Ah, okay. So to do app. So when does
Well,
to
what
do?
you guys writing?
Say what?
What are you guys writing in?
I'm just trying to get my head around like a particular JavaScript framework
Oh, okay.
called React. So then when you pass, how come you have to pass props up to the parent class though? Like it looks like it says, see where it says super props, you're passing that up to React component? Do you have to do
Because
that?
you're extending from the React component class, and
Right.
it's the one that's going to handle what it does with props and how it actually passes. Because each component has a life cycle.
Yeah.
When it receives props, or when the props come in and they've changed, it'll actually trigger a re-render.
Oh, yeah, I get you. Sorry, I didn't see that curly brace after the constructor there. I get you. I understand what's going on. So, I'm assuming that, because I don't see any actual variables defined here anywhere. So these are all predefined. These are all predefined objects that we're passing, like this state, an array of items.
So this dot state is, each component has a state that changes over time,
Yeah.
which is kind of the bread and butter of a React component.
Gotcha.
You can have variables anywhere that you want, but it's usually just for like temporary kind
Yeah,
of
just
figuring things out. But you can always refer to the item state. And when state changes, so state and props are both treated as immutable. They should not be directly changed.
Yeah, of course.
And that's because you want the life cycle to hook in and re-render when they change.
Okay.
But so when props are passed differently from the parent, when the parent passes new props, it re-renders. Also, when the state changes, it re-renders.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of how that's when it does a diff. So the state changes if you've got like a clock,
yeah.
and the time on the clock changes, you want it to update the DOM and show the new time.
Yeah, of course. Okay, this kind of makes sense. So basically, like you're saying, it's like Legos. You build all these little components, and then you put them all together. So where would I find an example of actually using this as a component? Like, so we've got the to-do app, right? And where does that actually get? Where does the to-do app actually get called? Like, or put on the page somewhere?
Let me bring up a GitHub thing real quick.
Okay.
Because the answer to your question is variable.
Ah,
It
gotcha.
depends how you're setting up your app.
Yeah. Oh wait, I see it down here. React DOM.render to-do app mount node. That's
Yeah.
the very bottom of it.
At somewhere like the
syntax is
root,
weird.
you render the topmost component, like the biggest, daddiest component that wraps all of them.
Oh,
A component can be as small as a button, and it can be as big as the entire page.
does the component get turned into a tag, like an HTML tag? Is that why it looks so weird, like in the angle brackets, the to-do app?
It will get turned into normal, like, so if you look at to-do list,
Yeah.
where it is, when that actually gets onto the page, it's not going to say to-do list. It's going to say,
Whatever the item
if I
ID.
scroll on, it'll be an unordered list right there.
Gotcha. Oh, I see. Right.
So what it returns, what any component returns from its render function is what will be in it, where it is in the DOM.
I gotcha. Okay, I gotcha. That's really interesting. The syntax is a little wonky, but I get my head around it. It'll make more sense. I don't need to know too much about it right off the bat. I just want to get a general idea for how it works. That website that you made, that Does that use? Are you using React for that?
Yes.
All right. And then now the next question is, what happens when you try to view source on one of those pages? You get to look at what do you actually see? I'm gonna find out right now.
So I do a lot of oh my god, I'm blanking on the word.
Obfuscating.
Optimization. Thank you
Okay,
for
that's
saying
the opposite of
obfuscating,
that.
because that helped.
That's the opposite, but yes, okay, that's perfect.
But starting with the letter O saved me. So all of my code is minified. It'll look like
Minified?
garbage. Because if you have all of your source code, and let's say it's like 300 KB of text, when
Yeah.
you minify it, it takes out all comments, it takes out all white space, it reduces
Whoa.
words to single letters where it can, so that your 300 KB might now be like 20 KB, and that just improves the load time of the
What's that
page.
called? That process? Minifying?
Minification.
Like mini, like it's small?
Yep.
That's so funny.
You do it for CSS and JavaScript.
It works for Oh, you know what? I have seen that before on a website. I remember like trying to check out the CSS for a page once, and it was just all one huge block of nonsense. And I was
Yes.
like, what the hell am I
Yep.
looking at? Oh.
Pre-process.
Now, how do you do that? Is that a... Would you say that's a pre-process?
Yep. There's a lot of tools that you can do it with. If you use Visual Studio, it has a couple things built in that can help you do it.
Yeah.
But it just depends on how you like to develop, and
Wow, that's really like splitting hairs when it comes to optimization, huh?
that's what it's all about.
And you never actually, but you know, obviously you never work with that. You just run the minification process every time you export, more or less.
There's configuration that goes into setting it all up, because just one second here, I have to explain something else. This is really too early set.
That's actually starting to make a little bit of sense. I've got about 10 more questions lined up too, so.
It's cool. I do this. I have taught everybody at my work how to do this. So
Oh, really? Okay, great.
yeah, and you're actually catching on a lot faster than most of my engineers, so it's great.
That's cool. I should definitely change my career.
So the source code that you've seen on those examples, it's not something a browser can look at and be like, oh, okay, yeah. It's JSX is what they call it.
Yes.
It's JavaScript mixed with HTML.
That's
And not
what
only
JSX
that,
is?
yes,
Okay.
it's the like curly braces in the middle of the HTML,
Right.
basically. It's what it does is it allows you to write HTML and then break into JavaScript and then
Oh,
go
that's
back
pretty
to
cool.
HTML.
PHP works a lot like that. I kind of
Wonderful.
assumed that that's how JavaScript always worked, but that must be what JSX is for.
Yes, but that's not something that the browser understands.
Yeah.
So what you do is you have to transpile your code, and not just for JSX, but for a lot of newer features in the language that are not quite adopted by, like, Internet Explorer, for example. So you want all of your code to be like, you want to write it with the new syntactic sugar that makes it
Yeah.
nice to maintain and clean, but you still want it to work on old browsers. So you transpile your code.
Oh.
You turn it back into old JavaScript.
Do you use this Babel website to do that personally?
So, I use a tool that they've created. So when I minify and when I go through all my code, it does it all at once.
Right.
And like I said, there's a ton of tools that do this, but they all use Babel. Like, this is almost a
in
universal
real time
thing.
all at once?
Every time I save,
No shit.
yes, it'll create a single minified file, which that's what I actually reference from the HTML instead of my source code.
So you were saying, so you can use JSX and then run it through Babel, and it'll come out as strict JavaScript that's compatible.
And then, yep, it'll come out as, so right there, you know, we had like the little, you would write like a div, like an HTML, and you'd write like a class or whatever. It'll turn it into pure JavaScript, no JSX, which, if I could find an example of that, like you can write React without JSX. You can write it all in like pure JavaScript, but it's nasty.
Right, it's no fun. Oh, okay, I'm starting to get this. That's pretty cool. Okay, so JSX is where you're intermingling HTML with your JavaScript in and out. That
Yes.
I totally get because PHP works very similar to that. I'm sure, actually, I shouldn't even say that because I'm sure that there's like some rudimentary feature in JavaScript that allows you to do what PHP does, but this looks like really super robust. Do they have a client? This Babel? Is there like a client that you can download? Oh, it's expensive.
You can do it a little bit on their site,
Oh,
but if you wanted to try it, like, I could show you some of the tools that you can get started with that are free, easy, but at the end of the day, you're going to need Node.js on your computer because all of these tools, well, the majority, not if you use like Visual Studio, but
right.
I would say the quote-unquote good tools that I would recommend.
They all run on Node.js.
Yeah, for development, like process stuff,
Yeah.
Node is becoming like super
I don't
good.
even know what it is, to be honest with you. I don't even
Think
know
of a
what
glorified task runner
Is that really what it is?
with a massive community that builds incredible modules and libraries and like tools off of it, like
don't-
things that transpile your code.
I don't want to sound too ancient, but I still, in my head, CSS is like the new shit. it's like, oh my god, this is great. So when people start talking about Node.js and Bootstrap and like all that stuff, I've never had anyone really explain it to me. I've never really gone and looked it up before. But am I mistaken to say that what you're talking about working on whoops, just alt tab by accident. The React is not built on Node.js, right? There's none of that involved.
You're correct.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that you won't be working with it if you're using minification processes. You're saying that Node.js is like required if you're going to be dealing with the minification software.
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha.
Unless you use other
Like
software.
Visual Studio. Oh, I have Visual
Yeah.
Studio.
They have a few like packages or tools extensions that can do this for you, but
Okay.
they're not as good, to be honest. I've used them for years, and
Gotcha.
this year I've made a big like push to improve the tools that my team uses. And
That's great. Yeah, it looks really cool. I definitely can see I can see myself getting my head around seeing, like, understanding this and working with it, like, once it's developed. So if you actually, now I'm starting to really get the hang of it. I'm probably gonna go watch tutorials for the rest of the day, to be honest. I love new syntax. Like, I love things that look wacky because it's, you know, the process of seeing something that looks completely foreign and then being like, oh, this is just like this, like, oh, that's just how they call this. And, you know, to me, that's the funnest part about, like, the last line of all of these, for instance, like the react-dom.render, and then where they have markdown editor, or where they have, you know, the name of the class like in angle brackets with the backslash. It looks like HTML, right?
yep,
And then what is that second argument, mount node? Is that just, it says to actually do it?
that is where to put it. So
Oh, okay.
it's weird they don't have it defined.
Like
In
where it
that-
should go?
Like, it should basically be document.getElement by ID,
Oh,
and
okay.
like
Yeah.
pick the first like root node in the body or something.
Okay,
It's weird
so
that they don't have that written.
What are nodes? Are those the different places on the actual page that you would put things, or is that more of like an abstract idea?
A node can be used to describe a couple different things, but at the end it's going to be an element on the page.
Right, okay.
If I say, like, I like to define, like, let's say I'm going to make just a list, like an unordered list, a UL with a couple LIs in it. And the thing about in JSX, you can put anything in a variable, including, like, HTML. So if I were going to make a variable called my list node, and then define a list inside that variable, that would be something I would call a node. 'Cause
Gotcha.
It's just a chunk of HTML.
Okay, so you can also think of them like objects too, in a way.
Yep.
Maybe with a bit less flexibility.
Yeah, so mount node might just be a div that's where you want your app to render into on your page. Because
So is mount node a function call though?
no, it's a variable that they don't have defined in their source code. I don't know why.
That's
It's weird.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but okay, right, because render is actually the function that's calling it, like saying, hey, put this on the website.
Yep.
That's pretty straightforward. The document object model. See, that's what I gotta look up next too. I gotta learn about how that works. I'll look that up today. This is it. I'm finally gonna do it. I'm gonna break into it. If you wanted to get started and make a page, like, it would be cool to have like our own custom or your own custom content management system too. I mean, that looks pretty good on the resume, doesn't it? Design your own.
Yeah, resume is not so much what I'm worried about, but it would be good. Like, the thing is, what I'm realizing is that you wouldn't need that. Like,
yeah.
It might be nice, but you can jump in the source code and edit like an image source URL.
Yeah. You know what I don't want to do though? I don't want to jump in the source code to put an update on the website for like, if I wanted to post well, actually, you know what? I take it back. I take that back completely, because I did say that we're just basically looking for a landing page. But we do want to have this. We do want to have an area where we can add like new content, like updated stuff, who's doing what, and we're kind of basing it off of not Team Liquid. God damn it, who is it? Optic Gaming. I'll show you.
Yeah, show me.
Not necessarily the look and feel, although if it looked exactly the same, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm seeing a link, the optic.tv. This is the kind of functionality that we're shooting for, with the exception of the shop page. The shop page is going to be linked to whoever's hawking our gear, like at any particular time. So we don't have to have I don't have to have a built-in like marketing or anything like that. And if we did, I'm sure that like WooCommerce could integrate with React or something, like, no problem. I'm sure they have like extensions for that. But do you see like they have the panels for the news section and all that stuff?
Yep.
So that's the only thing I would like to have on our front page, is some sort of way to do that without necessarily having to go in and like edit a bunch of JavaScript. Mm-hmm. But if that would be too much, then obviously it's not that big a deal.
No, I mean, that's what I need to build.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's something you want, then like I'll go ahead and do it anyway. I'm just saying, like, worst case scenario, like, it sounds like you would be able to edit things.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could definitely figure it out. Like I said, the biggest thing is I just don't have an eye for design. Like, I don't know what it is. There's something that makes websites look nice. I don't know what that is. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm really not a designer, but I can try.
Yeah, I just rip off other websites. Really, I like the look of this site. This is how our site's gonna kind of look. Although now that I'm going back and forth between the two, our site doesn't look anything like Optic's website.
I see similarities. I see where you drew inspiration.
The bottom, yeah, the footers for sure. I ripped off the footer like straight up. I was like, that is exactly what we're gonna use for the footer. But that's basically it, though. I mean, we don't need much. What we need is even the news. Like, the team section is important, and I don't need it to be as robust as their... Actually, theirs isn't even that robust now that I'm looking at it. Like, their team section is just a little panel that has Call of Duty, and then there's a bunch of rollover icons for each one of the players on the team. They only have 3 teams. That's pretty lame. But that's kind of just what we're shooting for, you know, like, you're basically, you know, like an enhanced landing page that has our sponsors on it and social media links, and then any way to just have a bit of a news section. Even it doesn't even have to be as, like, see how this is like the 5-panel thing? It doesn't even have to be that anywhere close to as I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Complicated as that. Just a section to where we can add new stuff in.
I think the most common thing I see are the carousels.
Yeah, but you can you can just always grab an example of carousels and stuff too. But now that I'm looking at the source code though, and it would be really easy to just, if I'm not mistaken, just like copy and paste one of those modules and then just throw in your own content with that. You know, and then just to call that module instead of for your news page. So like, just for, if we're gonna have one section of the page that's gonna be updated, and it'll just be the news section, right? then we probably, I mean, I don't need CMS for that. Like you were saying, I can probably just go in and if you had, say you made a couple of those different, are they called modules? In, shit, I closed the website, so now in React, is it called a React
Component?
object or?
Component.
A component, yeah. So I could just, basically copy and paste the components and then just add whatever I needed in them and then just throw them on the website that way.
Yeah, I think what it would come
Would be no
down
big
to,
deal.
though, is probably, like, if you wanted to add one, you could copy and paste. If you want to modify it, you'd probably just change the props.
Yeah, just change it? Okay.
But, I mean, what the CMS would do, that I would build, would be kind of do that for you.
Yeah, if you want to, I mean, if you wanted to, I just don't want to make too much work for you to, like, I don't want to have you, if you want to do it, that's excellent, right? But I don't want to ask you to create a CMS, like an entire CMS, just so that I can, like, do a news panel once a week or something like that. But, yeah, but that's entirely up to you. But, like, this is, if you look at Optic Gaming's website, that's exactly what we want. I mean, that's your basic esports template right there.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Would you want little things for the teams?
That's the big thing is, yeah, the teams. We don't have any teams yet. I mean, we do, but we don't have any teams that are, like, actually out there doing anything. Not until next season. So that's kind of on the back burner. But that's, yeah, we need the news, we need the teams, and sponsors, and then the footer. That's basically it. When, like, a link to the shop. And I'm supposed to be working with a couple of other guys on, like, how to actually promote this thing, because I have no idea how to say what. Like, if you look at the About section on Optic, it's like a goddamn novel. I've got maybe a paragraph. Like, hey, we're building teams at the moment. This is all just HTML, huh?
Yeah, at the end of the day.
Do you think they designed this all just with HTML, or did they run it through something that outputted a bunch of HTML at the end of the day? It looks pretty clean.
If I look at the source, I can know better. It looks like it's all done with jQuery.
jQuery, huh?
Yeah.
I always just assumed that was for databases.
Oh my god.
Is it dirty?
I'm a total snob.
Is it like ugly, like the way that it's formatted, the HTML, or?
Well, I can tell you, it's not minified for one.
Yeah, yeah, I know. There's a lot of white space.
I just, like, it's for a production website, like, they probably paid, like...
A lot, right?
A lot. At least $10K for the site.
Yeah,
I would
that's
guess.
$10,000 website. I'll tell you what, if you handed me $1,000 right now, I would figure out how to make you this website, and I would make it exactly like that. For $1,000 I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, web development has kind of outrageous prices, but it's usually because, I mean, if you go to, like, a freelance site, it's usually, like, $50 to $80 an hour.
Oh, I'm in the wrong industry.
That's why I want to get more into freelancing. Like, I make okay money now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I'm not really passionate about my company.
Right. Right.
And I want to be self-employed sometime. So it would be sweet to sort of start going down that path while I'm employed. It's like a win-win.
Yep. More money. More money. Well, yeah, if it's something that you'd be interested in doing, I'd love to see what you can do. And like I said, if you get something out, I can throw you a couple bucks a month and see how it goes. Because I'm looking for, now that I'm looking at our website here, and I know you've probably never used Adobe Muse, but I would not recommend it, like, at all. I used to use Dreamweaver a lot, which is the polar opposite.
Yeah, I have not.
I would not recommend it. Kind of feel like going to look up a bunch of stuff on
React.
Yeah, on React.
React is awesome. I love it. Like, I So it's made by Facebook, made and maintained and whatever, all that stuff by Facebook, and they did it to build Facebook. Like, all of Facebook has been transitioned, maybe not all, but like most, has been transitioned to all source code to use React. Yeah, and like, before I joined the team that I'm on at my current company, they did it all like jQuery style, like I see on this other website.
Yeah.
And like, I made a huge like campaign, like, we need to fucking use a modern development like framework. Like, we cannot just have this JavaScript page that's fucking 3,000 lines long of all these arbitrary jQuery calls. Like, it's time to get real.
Right.
So JavaScript is very near and dear to, I mean, React is very near and dear to my heart. So is JavaScript. But the only reason that like I am so deep in this is because nobody at my company was. Like, I didn't know JavaScript just a few years ago.
Really?
But it's like, here's a gap that I can slide into and become the expert and all that stuff. So
That's
now
pretty cool.
here I am.
So it looks like they've got everything pretty much handled with the framework. I'm looking at like how to design buttons and stuff with React, and it's like basically you're just defining that you want a button, and then it takes a bunch of arguments, you pass them in, call it a day. This handle click. Yeah, it's just all the goddamn.
It takes a little time. Like,
Well,
I
everything
wouldn't.
does though. Learning API calls is the thing, isn't it? You can learn to program all day. It's just whether or not you're willing to learn an API.
Well, plus, if you're learning JavaScript on top of learning like JSX syntax, it can get confusing. Like, okay, what is basic JavaScript and what is coming from the JSX?
Right.
Like, I know that can be a hurdle.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks pretty cut and dry, though, to be honest. Because I mean, I know, and I don't want it to sound, I don't want to come off the wrong way here, because I know I'm very good at Java, and I know that they're completely different languages, but I can almost kind of tell just by looking at some of the examples on GitHub here, like what is part of React and what's part of just like JavaScript. Because I know what JavaScript is supposed to look like.
Well, yeah, cool.
So that's no big deal. What is the export function though?
Importing and exporting is something that isn't really supported in the browser, but it's a big feature of Node.js development, which is basically like if you're writing. I've never written Java before. Have you written C#?
C# is my baby.
Okay, so you know how like at the top you've got like using blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and you're like bringing in references to other files.
Yes.
So that's kind of what the importing and exporting does. It's JavaScript's way of trying to keep things
Namespaces.
separated into smaller modules.
Right.
Because at the end, like if you don't do that, you have variables that start to pollute like the global space.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so-
my question is, what does the export do though? At the
That's-
very bottom.
So
Does it
if
create a namespace?
nope, if you call import somewhere else, the export is what that's importing.
Oh, that's really easy. Okay, right. Way more sense. So you don't have to ever define a namespace in React or JavaScript. Now, is import-export React or JavaScript?
That is JavaScript. But again, that's going to require some kind of technology that will stitch it all together for you.
Okay.
Which,
So-
if you're doing minification or transpiling, like those are usually all
I get
together.
that. So when you do export, I'm looking at a line here off of somebody's GitHub that just says export default button. Are you exporting to the default namespace and you're calling it button? Is that how that works?
Export default, it means that you're like exporting a single, because sometimes you can export multiple things from a file.
Right.
So export default is like, all right, this is the only thing that this is exporting. It's this single thing. And so if you say export default button, when you go to import that, you can say import button from file name.
Gotcha.
And then when you refer to that, you're basically taking that variable sort of object.
I gotcha. That's pretty easy. Yeah, actually, it looks pretty good. It looks like it's pretty good stuff. One thing I don't understand, though, is... I mean, one of many things, but let me just send you some code. That syntax, I don't understand what the curly braces are for. Like the class name, the variable is equal to, it almost looks like an anonymous inner, like a delegate function or something like, or a delegate.
So the curly braces, like I said, when you are writing in HTML, but you're like in JavaScript, the curly brace, what it does is it like breaks out into JavaScript. And so you can see that they're writing.
Okay, I got you, right. Because you're writing a div. Okay, so right, that totally makes sense because here's all of the code. Right.
Yep, so what they're doing, class name must be an array, and they're joining all of those class names from that array.
Class name must be an array?
Join is an array function, so I just have to assume.
I gotcha.
And the class name should be a string. Like,
right.
if you're passing a class name to a div, it's going to be a string. So what that ends up outputting is just a string.
Gotcha. That's pretty fancy. That's not too hard. That's not too crazy. So anytime you see curly brace, when you see what would be like a variable that's equal to something in curly braces, basically you're breaking into JavaScript at that point inside of your HTML. That's all that is. Mm-hmm. Peasy. Okay, I got one more for you. That.
Okay, so that is that's an arrow function. That's a newer syntax in JavaScript, but it's an anonymous function.
Okay.
So what they're saying is,
is it exactly an anonymous function? That's just how they do it syntactically?
yeah.
Okay, I totally get that then. Yeah, see, once you get your head around the syntax, it's not the end of the world.
So yeah, then they can pass that function to the button or whatever they're putting it on, and it'll call whatever function was passed via props. Click handler. And it'll pass
gotcha. Yeah.
the name back.
That's fancy. Now I'm getting into it, man. Wow.
Never mind.
So much for team building. I'm just gonna do this now.
It's fun. God, it's so good. And so if you were to install Node on your PC, it's very, very easy. And then you basically just use command prompt to call some of its commands.
Yep.
I'm not like a command prompt person. I never like learned Linux or anything like that.
Right.
But once you learn a couple commands, it's not too bad. But I'm gonna link you something.
Sure. It's interesting that the CSS is all bound. Maybe this is just this person's style, but the CSS is bound to each component.
There's tons of different ways that people do the CSS.
Yeah, okay, that's just their style. Gotcha.
So what I linked you is once you install Node, you can use this. It's just CLI. It's a command line tool created by Facebook. That'll like kickstart your project. It'll set up the transpiling, the minification, all of that stuff, so that you can just kind of jump in and start writing the React code, the components.
Yeah.
It even sets up kind of like a local dev server so that you can test it out like localhost, and then when you're ready, it'll publish all of the files to static, like JavaScript, static CSS, and HTML, which you could then just plop onto whatever server you've got and host it from there.
Oh,
so this
fancy.
is really nice for learning React, because sometimes all of the stuff that you have to do to set up around it can be it detracts from the actual learning of the framework.
Right. What is this called? Oh, Facebook Incubator?
That's like where it's kind of hosted, but this is called Create React App.
Okay. Gotcha. Awesome. That's great. Well, I'm probably going to now spend the next couple hours like looking into this, to be completely honest. But yeah, if it's something you want to do, you can go ahead and you can get started on it if you like, and then, you know, we can go from there. I just, like, if you want to just come up with some ideas, or, I mean, it's completely up to you. I mean, or if you just do it, if you don't want to do it at all, that's okay by me too. You know, that's, like, it's completely fine.
No, I do want to. I think it'd be fun. Like I said, I've been kind of looking for something to do that mean something.
Yeah.
I just put together little bullshit things for fun.
Right.
That really don't amount to anything at the end. So, it would be cool to build something that is actually useful to somebody.
Yeah, I would find it incredibly useful to have like to have like a nice website that, for me, it would be nice to have like a nice website, A, and then B, to have like sort of a new language to poke around with a little bit and kind of get into it. I'm always having a good time with that.
I think WordPress converted all their site over to React. Like
Really?
it's taken over.
WordPress, like their site is in React.
Yeah, like all of their actual core stuff.
WordPress is useless.
I've never actually used it myself.
It's the pits. You don't want to. It's the pits.
Like I said, I'm a total snob. Like, I like to write all my shit by hand.
That's what everybody likes to do. I mean, a lot of good designers really would prefer to do that. Plus, there's like I don't know, what's the word? I don't know. There's just you can be proud of it if you did it yourself. You know, like there's a different type of pride that comes from creating a nice WordPress website, because it's such a pain in the ass and it's so clunky, and it's like you probably never used Front Page, did you?
No.
It's like Microsoft's old WYSIWYG editor, and the code that it produced was like just horrific, you know. But if you could get a nice website going with Front Page, then it was like, I don't know, you kind of be proud of yourself, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of useless. So yeah, like I would say if you want to get started, you know, on your free time, like, and then when you come up with something, like when we're launched, you know, if you come up with something that looks good and we're all happy with it, like, I'll throw you a couple of bucks and we can just you know, just go with it and see how far it goes. And then maybe it'll get to a point where, you know, it might get to a point where I can, like, I learn enough to where I can manage most of it. Mm-hmm. You know, and then you can keep picking away at it, and maybe we can make something cool.
Do you want to like send me what assets you have?
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. I meant to do that. Sorry.
That's okay. It'll just help me kind of get an idea of what we've got to work with.
Our graphic designer is just constantly dropping stuff into our Google Drive. So what I'll do is I'll give you a link to our art assets folder.
Okay. Perfect.
Share this. Can you DM me your email address real quick?
Yep. Would you be cool with for the admin panel? Would you be cool with using like Google login?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You can do that?
Yeah, it's. I so much prefer using some, like, whether it's Facebook, Google, whatever, to manage security. Like, it's so much safer. And not my problem if they get...
That's wild. Alright, I just sent you 2 links. One of them is to our standard assets folder, and the other one is to a TMAX folder.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, that should be pretty much all set. Cool beans. I'm super excited. I'm honestly gonna do tutorials for the rest of the afternoon.
Awesome.
And then, oh yeah, this is the last thing I need to do is I gotta set up a staging server. So do you have your own, you do all your own testing, like internally, like you have your own local testing server that you do everything on?
Do you mean like at home or at work?
Yeah, no, like at home, like if you, like, so say you wanted to get started with like this website, would you need a staging server to do it on, or do you have like a local one that you work with? Like, can you start building
yeah, I can build locally. I run locally, and then if I wanted to test...
are you using the Create React app, basically, or something similar to that for your local installation?
Very similar. Not exactly that, but similar.
Okay, that's cool. And
I'll link you what I use in case.
Well, so if I'm going to get started, like literally, should I just get started straight with the Create React app and just follow those steps?
I would.
Testing server, okay.
I honestly didn't discover that until like late this year, and it would have just saved so much. I don't know, like learning aches because learning all of the extras like pre-processing stuff, it can be a lot.
Yeah. Big undertaking. Fancy.
Yeah, this is new. Parcel thing is new.
Is it? I swear I've heard of that before, though. I feel like I've heard of it before.
UPS? Parcel service?
Probably. Hot module replacement. HMR.
Yeah, that's purely for like in development. So when you like make a change to either CSS or JavaScript, it whoop, loads it in.
Pretty fancy. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna take off and I'm gonna go start working on this a little bit. I will catch up with you. I will catch up with you, like, or just keep in touch with me. And if you need anything, or if you have, like, when you want to get started, or if you have anything that you want to show me or ask me any questions, like, I'm always around, you know?
Okay.
And I'll just probably be poking around with this for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about React, like...
Yeah, I probably will. Sure I will. So I'm going to start with Create React App. That's what I'm going to download first.
Well, first you need to download Node.
Oh,
I think if I were you, I'd spend like 30 minutes like trying to understand Node a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
and
makes sense.
NPM, specifically NPM, Node Package Manager. That's how you bring in other people's projects.
Node.js.
Like libraries,
and
modules,
then
tools.
What was it called? Node, and then the other one was called what?
NPM.
NPM. NPM?
Mm-hmm. Node Package Manager.
Gotcha. PM tutorial for beginners. I love it.
Hi guys, my name is Vishwas and welcome to
So what would you recommend? Would you say Node.js and then NPM, or NPM first and then Node? Or are they both kind of the same thing?
I kind of think if you learned NPM, you would get what you needed to know about Node through that.
Okay.
Because you're not actually going to be hosting on Node.
No.
Like, Node can host a web server. Like, it can serve files just like IIS or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what you're going to be using it for.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to go through these videos, and I'm going to get up to speed as, I don't know if it's going to be this afternoon or in a couple of days or something like that, but as soon as I feel like I'm up to speed with like what we're going to be working with, I'll get back in touch with you and we can go from there.
All right, cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, by the way. I feel like I just got a completely set up for learning a new platform today, which is way more meaningful to me than just like having a website built. Because you know, the other thing too is like, I don't, if you were to design this website, I don't want it to be like a burden for you for the rest of the next like 5 or 6 years or forever, like how long we're doing this, you know what I mean? Like, I would like to make sure that I can also work with you on it and like take a lot of the load off you, especially in terms of content.
Sure, yeah, and it's just a great skill to have.
Because I just know, because I've been doing websites for like a long time, and I manage like 2-3 websites right now. And the worst thing is like when I get a call out of nowhere and somebody's like, "Hey, can you add like this one thing to the website?" I'm like, "Are you serious?" So
yeah, no, it's cool, and I don't know. Hope you have fun. JavaScript has come a very long way. I know a lot of people have shared the same kind of sentiment that you have about disliking JavaScript. People have their reasons, but I'm absolutely in love with it.
Well, it's definitely come a long way. You know, it's come a long way. Most of my friends are C++ developers, so like my opinion of JavaScript is formed like almost exclusively on them, like just shit talking any language that's not based in C.
Yeah, and I think most people hate the fact that JavaScript has no typing, no strong typing.
Yeah, that's true.
But like,
it's loosely typed, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it can be problematic at first for some people. It can cause bugs that they don't expect because it doesn't call you out. But like, damn it, it allows for such fun ways of making code. Like, I
totally get that.
Love it.
I was into
when I go back to C#, it's like.
Yeah, it's not as fun, right? Because it seems less dynamic, doesn't it? Yeah, I was like really into, before I was into Overwatch, I was into a game called like Arma. You ever hear Arma? Like Arma 3? And
Yeah.
so they use Squiff, which is their own in-house, very loosely typed scripting language. And it was really weird to get my head around it at first. But once you do, it's like, oh yeah, there's actually some pretty cool stuff that you can get out of the way. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, like I said, I'm going to go work on this. I'll get back in touch with you when I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing and I kind of know what I'm talking about. Then I'll get back in touch with you and maybe we can start going over some more stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll probably play around a bit here as well.
Awesome.
After I get some food.
Yeah, I know. I'm starving too, actually. I'm going to go and grab some lunch. I will talk to you in the future.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you later.
Hi guys, my name is Oleglas and welcome to a brand new tutorial series on NPM for beginners. In this video, I'm going to briefly talk to you about what NPM is, and as we progress through the series, we will learn the basic usage of NPM. Now, if you're a JavaScript developer or recently dived into the world of Node.js, then the term NPM is no stranger to you. NPM, all in lower cases, is the package manager for JavaScript. So let's try to understand what we mean by a package manager. Now, when we have a problem to solve, we end up writing the code to address that specific problem. And if we encounter the same problem later in a different project, let's say, then we can reuse that same piece of code. So these individual files containing reusable code are called modules. And a package is nothing but a directory with one or more modules and along with a special file called package.json. And this file has metadata about the package. Now, I do need to tell you that sometimes the word package is interchangeably used with the word module. So please don't get confused. Okay, now that we know what a package is, let's try to understand how NPM helps with managing these packages. Now let's say you write the JavaScript code to solve a particular problem. So you're the developer A, you write some code, and NPM allows you to publish your code into the NPM registry so that other developers who are facing the same problem can just reuse your code. And whenever you make updates to your code, NPM makes it easy for the developers who are dependent on your code to check for those updates and download them. So that is basically what NPM is. It is a way to share your code with other developers and reuse the code from other developers and easily manage the different versions of your code. So let's get started with the rest of the series. NPM is actually shipped with Node.js. So in order to have NPM on our machines, we just need to download and install Node.js. And for that, go to nodejs.org, and here I would say download and install the latest stable release. So at the time of recording, it is version 4.5.0. So once you install Node, open a command prompt and type node-v. And this is going to give you the version of Node code in
Cool.
installed on your system. Now I have 4.4.4, but make sure you have the latest version when you install it. And now that we have Node installed, we can run npm-v, and this is going to give us the version of npm on our machines. And I just did an npm update, so I have the version 3.10.7, and again, make sure you have the latest. Now using help with npm is pretty simple. Just type npm help to get help on npm. So npm help. Now this is going to show you the typical usage of npm. So it is npm followed by a command name, and the list of commands we can specify are displayed right here. And if you have a look at our command npm help, this is exactly the usage npm expects. We have just replaced this command with help, which is of course a command listed here. Now something a bit more useful is the -h option on a command, which gives you the quick help. So let's use it with the install command, because it is probably the most used command during development. So we are going to type npm install -h, and this gives you the different
and I can't turn
you can use npm install. And some of these, for example, npm install and npm install package, we will be learning about them in the upcoming videos. But for now, remember that there is a -h option, and you can use that with a command. Now another very useful command is the help search command. Now what this does is it is going to allow you to specify some text, and it is going to search the npm documentation for that text. So let me show you an example. So npm help-search and any text you want to. So update. Let's search for the text update in the npm documentation. So when I run this, it is going to give me the occurrences of this update text. And if you when I run this, it is going to any text you want to. So update. Let's search for the text. Going to search the npm documentation for that text. So let me show you an example. So npm help-search and any text you want to. So update. Let's search for the text update in the npm documentation. So when I run this, it is going to give me the occurrences of this update text. And if you run this help command, so npm help update, and as you see here, these are the top hits for the text update, and these are the corresponding documentations. So for example, the first one, if I run npm help update, so npm help update, what it does is it is going to open up the documentation on. Now when we are working on a project, we are going to include a file called package.json in our project folder. And using a package.json file has two main benefits. The first thing is that it lets you manage the dependencies of your project. For example, if I'm working on a Node project that makes use of the Express framework, then I can specify the Express package and the... Now, when we run the npm init command, now when we are working on a project, we are going to include a file called package.json in our project folder. And using a package.json file has two main benefits. The first thing is that it lets you manage the dependencies of your project. For example, if I'm working on a Node project that makes use of the Express framework, then I can specify the Express package and the version of Express that my project depends on. And the second thing is that it lets you add scripts that help with initial build of your project. Now in this video, let us see how to create a package.json file and learn about managing dependencies and using scripts in the later videos. Now we don't have to manually type the package.json file. Instead, we can use the npm init command. Now I have created a new folder called npm on my desktop and opened command prompt in the same folder. And over here, I'm going to type npm init. And this is going to ask you a series of questions. But the good thing is that npm gives you a default answer to every question. So for now, I'm just going to hit enter for everything. And once you hit enter for all the questions, it is going to give you a preview of how the package.json file is going to look. And now, if I press enter, it is going to create that package.json file in my npm folder. And if I open this with an editor, you can have a look at the contents. We have a name, a version, a description, which is the main file, some scripts, an author, and the license. Now, if you want to create a package.json file with these defaults, we can just use the --yes option to skip through the questions. So I'm going to delete this file. So let's see, delete series of questions. The questions, it is going to give you a preview of how the package.json file is going to look. And now, if I press enter, it is going to create that package.json file in my npm folder. And if I open this with an editor, you can have a look at the contents. We have a name, a version, a description, which is the main file, some scripts, an author, and the license. Now, if you want to create a package.json file with these defaults, we can just use the --yes option to skip through the questions. So I'm going to delete this file. So let's see, delete. And then I'm going to go back to command prompt and type npm init --yes. And now, without having to answer any of the questions, it is going to create that exact same package.json file. So if I have a look here, the contents remain the same. And there you go. That is how you create a package.json file. Now, when we run the npm init command, it is possible to specify certain default values that must be entered in a package.json file. For example, for every project that we work on, let's say we want the author and the license to be Vishwas and MIT. So let's see how to set a default author name and a default license for our package.json file. Now, let's go back to our command prompt, and to set a default author name, the command is npm config set init -author -name followed by the string. So I'm going to have the author name as Vishwas. So I'm going to enter, and now the default value will be set. Now we can also set a default value omitting this config keyword. So we can still say npm set init, and this time let's set the license. So npm set init license, and we're going to set this to MIT. So now I'm going to run this, and there you go. The default value is set. So let's verify. I'm going to delete the package.json file, and let's rerun npm init. So npm init dash dash yes, so that we don't have to answer any questions. And this has to be npm. So when I run this, it is going to create the package.json file. And now if you have a look, the author name is Vishwas and license is MIT. So for any project from here on, if I run the npm init command, it is going to have Vishwas and MIT as the author and license. Now to check what are the default values that have been set, we can use get keyword. So the command is npm config get init dash author dash name. And when I press enter, it is going to give me Vishwas. And again, we can leave out this config keyword if we wish to. So I'm gonna say npm get init dash license. And this is going to give me the default license that has been set, which is MIT. Now if you feel that you don't need a default value anymore, then we can delete a default value. And the command for that is the author and license. Now to check what are the default values that have been set, we can use get keyword. So the command is npm config get init dash author dash name. And when I press enter, it is going to give me Vishwas. And again, we can leave out this config keyword if we wish to. So I'm gonna say npm get init dash license. And this is going to give me the default license that has been set, which is MIT. Now if you feel that you don't need a default value anymore, then we can delete a default value. And the command for that is npm config
When I look around, I always learn something. To be always yourself. And to express yourself. To have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality and duplicate it. How can I be me?
questions. And we can still say npm set init, and this time let's set the license. So npm set init license, and we're going to set this to MIT. So now I'm going to run this, and there you go. The default value is set. So let's verify. I'm going to delete the package.json file, and let's rerun npm init. So npm init -- yes, so that we don't have to answer any questions. And this has to be npm. So when I run this, it is going to create the package.json file, and now if you have a look, the author name is Vishwas and license is MIT. So for any project from here on, if I run the npm init command, it is going to have Vishwas and MIT as the author and license. Now to check what are the default values that have been set, we can use get keyword. So the command is npm config get init -author -name, and when I press enter, it is going to give me Vishwas. And again, we can leave out this config keyword if we wish to. So I'm gonna say npm get init -license, and this is going to give me the default license that has been set, which is MIT. Now if you feel that you don't need a default value anymore, then we can delete a default value, and the command for that is npm config delete init -license. So let's delete the default license. There you go, that has been deleted. And let's also delete the default author name. So npm config delete init -author -name, and there you go, the author is deleted as well. So now let me just delete the package.json file and rerun npm init -- yes. And there you go, we have the package.json file. We have removed the defaults that we had set. So the author is not Vishwas anymore, and the license is not MIT anymore. ISC is the default that comes with npm. So there was a quick video on how to set some of the default values in a package.json file. Now when you want to use a package for your project, and if the package makes sense only for that specific project, you can install the package locally in that project folder. And the command to install a package locally is npm install followed by the command name. For example, let's consider this npm folder as our project folder, and we want to install a package locally within this folder. For that, open command prompt in that particular folder and run the command npm install followed by the package name. The package we are going to be installing is Moment, which is basically, and this is purely for an example. You can install any package you wish to. Now when I run npm install Moment, it is going to take a couple of seconds and then create a particular folder called node modules in our project folder, and within this folder we are going to find the package we installed, and that is Moment. Now if you install more packages, all those packages are going to be created in this node modules folder. But if you have a look at our package.json file, there is no corresponding entry for that package. And I did mention that package.json file is going to help track our project dependencies, or what are the packages that our project depends on. And right now we don't see Moment. Now to save the package as a dependency in your package.json file, you need to use the -- save flag. So I'm going to go back to npm folder and remove this node modules folder so that you don't get confused, and I'm going to type npm install Moment and then just add the -- save flag. Now when I run this, it is going to do the exact same thing. It's going to create a node modules folder, and within that Moment, but this time it's also going to create an entry saying dependencies, and then it is going to say the package name, so which is Moment, and the version we have installed. So we have a dependency on the Moment. JSON file, you need to use the -- save flag. So I'm going to go back to npm folder and remove this node modules folder so that you don't get confused, and I'm going to type npm install Moment and then just add the -- save flag. Now when I run this, it is going to do the exact same thing. It's going to create a node modules folder, and within that Moment, but this time it's also going to create an entry saying dependencies, and then it is going to say the package name, so which is Moment, and the version we have installed. So we have a dependency on the Moment library. So that is what it means. Excuse me. And if you want to install packages just for development purpose and not production, then you can make use of the -dev flag. Now to uninstall a package, we use the npm. If you want to install packages, go to our command prompt and npm install. Now generally you might want to make use of something like a testing package such as Mocha or Karma as your dev dependencies, but they're pretty large, and for example I'm going to make use of Lodash package, and npm install Lodash -- save -dev. So what we mean to say is that this is just a development dependency package, and this really isn't required for production. So when I run npm install Lodash -- save -dev, it's going to create within node modules a package for Lodash. So I'm going to wait for this to complete, and there you go, we have the package for Lodash. But if you have a look at the package.json file, it's going to create a different dependency, something called as dev dependency, and again it's going to specify the package name and the version that our project is using. So Lodash is a dev dependency and Moment is a production dependencies. And that is how you install dependencies and dev dependencies for your projects. Now to uninstall a package, we use the npm uninstall command followed by the package name. So right now we have Moment and Lodash as a dependency and dev dependency. So let's try to uninstall these local packages. So I'm going to go back to command prompt, and over here I'm going to type npm uninstall followed by the package name, so Moment. And if you run this command, it is going to uninstall Moment, but it is not going to remove the entry from this package.json file. So to remove the entry, we need to use -- save flag again. So npm uninstall moment --save is going to remove this dependency. So we don't have the moment dependency specified in the package.json folder anymore. And similarly, to remove a dev dependency, we use npm uninstall followed by the package name, which is Lodash, followed by --save -dev. So right now we have Lodash as a dev dependency, and if I run this, it is going to remove Lodash from the dev dependency. And if you have a look at the node modules folder, it is going to be empty because both the packages have been uninstalled. Now some packages like grunt or gulp need to be used from the command line, and in such scenarios we would want to install the package globally so that its binaries end up in the path environment variable. So for this example, let's again use moment package and try to install the package globally instead of locally. Now the command to install a package globally is npm install followed by the package name, which is moment, but this time we specify the -g flag. So npm install moment is going to install locally, but when we specify -g, it is going to install globally. So I'm going to run this command with npm, let's get that right, npm, and when I do run this command, it is going to install this dependency, so moment. But now if you have a look over here in the node modules folder, we don't find the dependency, or we don't find the package here, and similarly we don't find the package in package.json either. We will soon learn where globally installed packages are going to reside, but for now just remember that in order to install a package globally, we use the -g option. Now uninstalling a global package is pretty simple. You just specify the -g flag with the command you use to uninstall a local package. So since we installed moment package globally in the last video, let's try to uninstall that. So npm uninstall followed by the package name, so in our case it is going to be moment, followed by the -g flag to uninstall it globally. Now when I run this command, it is going to uninstall the global package. Now there are a couple of aliases for uninstall command, so you can specify npm uninstall followed by the package name, or you can even specify npm remove followed by the package name, or you can just specify npm rm followed by the package name, or npm un followed by the package name. But all these commands are going to uninstall a package. Now sometimes we might want to have a look at the list of globally and locally installed packages. And to list the packages that are locally installed, we use the npm list command. Now I have two packages locally installed, Lightserver and Lodash, and when I run npm list, it is going to display the packages in a tree-like structure, which also shows the packages that are installed package. So shows the packages in a tree-like structure, which also shows the packages that our installed package depends on. So if I scroll to the top, you can have a look at Lightserver. This Lightserver package in turn depends on this browser sync package, which in turn has some dependencies. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom, we should have Lodash, and Lodash doesn't depend on anything else. Now we can also restrict the depth of this tree using the --depth flag. So npm list dash dash depth, and if I specify a depth of 1, it is going to give me the immediate dependencies of light server. So light server depends on browser sync, connect history, connect logger, and minimist, and Lodash doesn't depend on anything. And if I specify a depth of 0, it is just going to list all the packages and no dependencies for that particular package. So what are the packages in our project? It is light server and Lodash. Now similarly, to list the global packages, we are going to use npm list, but this time dash dash global is going to be set to true, and let's specify the depth of 0 again. So when I run this, it is going to give me the list of packages that I have installed globally. So I have light server installed globally, I have npm installed globally, and then TypeScript installed globally. And if you have a look at the path here, it's going to be in users, Vishwas, app data, roaming, and then in this npm folder. So if I go over to this particular folder, see users, Vishwas, app data. So this app data is a hidden folder. And then within app data, roaming, npm, and then this node modules folder again. Here is where our globally installed packages are going to reside. So that is how you have, or that is how you list the locally and globally installed packages. When we work with npm, it is really important that we understand how versioning works with packages. And this is where semantic versioning comes into picture. Now semantic versioning is a specification where a version is represented by 3 numbers that mean the same thing for every developer. So let's try to understand with an example. I'm going to run the command npm install lodash dash dash save, so that the package gets installed locally and is also entered in the package.json file. Now when this happens, Lodash is entered with the latest version. So when we use npm install, a package by default gets installed with the latest stable release. And these 3 numbers here, the first one 4 represents the major version number, 16 represents the minor version number, and 1 represents the patch version number. Now anytime there is a bug fix or a performance improvement, let's say, this patch version number gets incremented. So 1 becomes 2, and minor version number gets incremented when there is a new feature, but that feature is not going to break any existing functionality. So 1.6 might become 1.7, or it might even become 2.0, and so on. And finally we have the major version number. Now this gets incremented only when there is there's a break in the existing functionality. For example, Angular 1 to Angular 2. So there were many changes that broke the existing functionality, so the major version number gets updated. But sometimes we might need a specific version of a package rather than the latest version of the package. So to install a specific package version, we use the @ symbol followed by the package version. So let's try to install npm install Lodash, but this time we are going to install a previous version. Let's go with 3.3.0, and then dash dash save, so that we save it in the package.json file. So when I run this, it's going to install Lodash at the specified version, so 3.3.0. And if you have a look at the package.json file, it gets updated to the version that we installed it. Now sometimes we might also want to restrict to the minor version number. For example, let's go with, alright, I need major version of 4, and I need a minor version of, let's go with 1.4, but the patch version I need the latest. So let me explain to you what I mean. So npm install Lodash at 4.14. So what I mean to say here is that give me Lodash package with major version 4, minor version 1.4, but the package version, the patch version, give me the latest. So when I run this command, and I needed to use dash dash save, so let me also do that again. just gonna wait. Alright, let's do it. -- save, and it's going to install Lodash 4.14, and then it's going to take the latest patch version, so 2. So 4.14, and in this minor version 2 is the latest patch version. So that is how you install a specific major and minor version, but with the latest patch version. And finally, we can also specify just the major version. So give me the latest package of Lodash with the major version of 4. So the command is going to be, I'm not sure if you can have a look. Okay, so npm install Lodash at 4 -- save. So when I run this command, it's going to install the latest major version of 4 of Lodash. So 4.14.2 gets changed to 4.16.1. So in major version 4, this is the latest version of minor and patch. And that is how you install specific versions of npm packages. When you want to work on some project, for example, let's say a project that you found on GitHub, if you have a look at the README file, it tells you to first run the npm install command. And this is the typical usage, because when you do run npm install, all the packages listed as dependencies in your package.json file get installed in the local project folder. For example, let's say that our project depends on Lodash. So if I open command prompt in our project folder, which is npm, and run npm install, it is first going to create a node modules folder within our project folder, and if I go inside, it is going to create this Lodash folder, and this is where our package files are going to reside. And npm install is probably the most common command you're going to be looking at when installing your dependencies. Now, we also learned about semantic versioning in the last video, so let's see how the version might be specified in the package.json file. Now, the most common type you will come across is a version with a caret symbol at the beginning, this right here. And what this specifies is stick to the given major version number of 4, but when you run npm install, retrieve the latest minor and patch versions. For example, we might have a version of 4.14.1 when or during our project development, but let's say a
One. Yeah. OMG, the clouds is under my feet.
A month or two later, we might have 4.15.1 or 4.16.1 and so on. So when we do run npm install, I need the latest minor and patch versions. And in fact, this is exactly what happened when I did run npm install. So although we specified 4.14.1, it installed 4.16.1. So 4 was left as it is, but the latest version for minor and patch version numbers were retrieved, and hence we installed Lodash package at version 4.16.1. Now the second type is to specify the tilde instead of the caret. So when I specify the tilde symbol, it means to say leave the major version and the minor version as it is, but retrieve the latest version of patch number when I run npm install command. So let's save our package.json file and run npm install again. So when I run npm install, if you have a look, 4.16.1 was our previous version installed, but this time it is going to be 4.14.2. That is because the tilde symbol is going to restrict upgrading the major and minor versions. So only the patch version was updated to the latest one. And finally, we can just have the specific version number, in which case npm doesn't install a newer version even though it exists. For example, let's say I specifically want 4.14.1 and not a higher version. So now let me save that, and when I run npm install, instead of 4.16.1 or 4.14.2, it is going to install 4.14.1. So specific version. I don't need a latest version. So that's how it's going to install it. And finally, let's say even if there is a change in the major version number, I want the latest one. So we're going to specify star. So when we specify star, it is going to retrieve the latest version of Lodash irrespective of the major, minor or patch versions. So that is it about package versioning with npm. Now it is essential that we update our packages from time to time so that we can make use of the new features that are available with every release. So to update a specific package, the command is npm update followed by the package name. So for example, if we want to update Lodash to its latest version, the command is npm update Lodash. Let's also save it to the package.json file. So when we run this, 4.14.1 will get updated to the latest version. So let's have a look. There you go, 4.16.1 was now installed and package.json file is now updated with the latest version. And we can also update just the dev dependencies. So the command for that is